guys. Welcome to episode 30 of the PT Performance Podcast Evolution. I'm joined on today's show by a couple of guests. We'll kick off with the introduction first of my man, Joel Bradford. Joel was a PT manager at EMF when I first came along. Stuck around as one of our best personal trainers for the next 3 years or thereabouts, but had a pretty distinguished career as a trainer leading up to me joining the company. Joel, give us a quick bio, mate. Tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah, g'day. So, mate, 12 years in the PT industry. Actually checked this out last week. I checked when my ABM was registered. It was back in the 1st of January 2009. And that's when I started. I finished up a small career as an athlete, and it was one of the first things that I dived straight back into. Loved sport, loved training itself. So it was a pretty simple fit for me diving into. So I did my Cert 3 and 4 back in 2009, started the business in, I think, end of 2009 by the time we got in there. Spent 12 years in that, and over that time as well, I've had the pleasure of working alongside you as a personal trainer manager and group fitness manager, but also a gym manager for a couple of other gyms here on the Gold Coast as well. So had a bucket load of experience and a bucket load of years underneath the belt. It went quick, mate. It went really quick, to be honest. But so that's a bit of the PT side of background. Last year was when I finished up the personal training side of things and sold my business. And after selling that, we took on a new business with my buddy here, Tim, and that's in the mortgage broking finance industry. And that's sort of just it's actually been a really smooth transition from that side of things. Everyone's like, wow, that's a big change from PT to finance, but it's actually similar in many ways. And I guess we'll probably talk about that soon, about business side of things. But that's a little bit of a background on PT, where I've come from and sort of what I'm doing now.
Awesome, dude. And I think, Joel, we must have met 2011.
Yeah, back when you were at ASN.
Yeah, I was running the ASN store and you were at Anytime Fitness and Surfers.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah. So, a lot of people listening to this are kicking off their PT career or they're a year or two in. Guys, that's a good 10 to 12 year career there. You would have gone through some of those challenges in the start of how do I make this work? How am I going to get some more money together? Like, is this a job that I've built myself or am I actually building a business that's going to turn into, something that's impactful for many people over many years? I mean, it'd be a guess to say how many people you worked with and trained over that period of time, but several hundred, probably north of that.
Yeah, easy. And it's quite funny you say that because, to be honest, my business had to fail before it succeeded. The first 12 months.
That's a great point, man.
Yeah, I was one of those stats. The PT failing the first 12 months. That was basically where I was going. And I got thrown a bit of a lifeline, and I learnt a lot. I got put on as a PT manager at that Anytime Fitness that you were speaking about before. And in that time, I actually worked out that the more I speak to members, the more clients I got as a personal trainer. So, and it's because
Isn't that a wild concept, eh?
Yeah, crazy, right? So, it's quite funny. Like that first 12 months, mate, I was probably that close to actually giving up being a personal trainer altogether. Got given that PT manager role at Anytime Fitness, and honestly, I had to turn people away because that's how many people wanted to come to me, simply because I'd say good day to them every single time they come through those gym doors. I'd say goodbye to them when they left. I'd check in and see how they're doing. So,
Isn't it funny, man? That could be a combination of things. Again, we've talked about this on previous episodes, but the fact that you had now a role. Isn't it funny how nothing changed about who you were? Nothing changed about your skill set, your passion, your drive to train people. None of that. You were just given a release valve or pressure release that gave you a role now. So now you had to wear a different hat and act out a different character, right? Giving advice back to a first-time PT, would you be along the lines of me saying, and I'm similar now, it's like you've got to fake it till you make it's done. It's broken, it's disgusting, and it leads people down the wrong way. But becoming the character that you want to be, becoming, acting the role of who you want to be is a whole different level, right?
Definitely.
So you've become a PT manager. As a manager now, you felt more obliged to communicate with the members because you've got this title. Whereas 3 days prior or a week prior, whatever it was, you could have been doing the exact same fucking thing without the title.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, you touched on it with that pressure point as well. It did release the pressure. So I think when I was a personal trainer, when I was trying to talk to people, I was probably trying to be a salesman when I was doing it.
Sell.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where I was going real wrong with it as well. I thought I had to sell myself to them as opposed to
provide value
and just help
give them an exceptional experience.
100%. Yeah, walk them around the gym, talk to them. How's your knee going? Oh, you had that shoulder injury last week. How you doing with that? Have you tried these sort of exercises? Little bits and pieces like that.
But it's a radical concept that I really hope one day takes off, and it's called giving a fuck about other people.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think pretty radically at times, and I'm a bit out there, but I reckon if something like that picks up, I think the world would be a better place, let alone PTs, and all small business owners would succeed significantly better. I've had conversations with people that go, I'll explain that kind of a story, and this is the kind of things we should be doing. They said, okay, so when I'm talking to people, I should act like I'm like really interested. I said, no, don't act like it. Like, actually be interested, Remember things about them, and provide value, and especially in a gym, you want to provide an exceptional experience, whether that's just a conversation, whether you're helping them out with a rep, a spot here or there, whether you're giving them a bit of advice or a suggestion, or whether they're paying you, $150 a session. Either way, you want them to walk away going, fuck, that was a great experience. I really enjoyed that interaction with that individual.
Yep, 100%, mate. And I think that's that whole mindset of, I need to get paid for this. I need to get paid for that sort of advice. And it's like, well,
I've got my car bills due or my rent's due or something. It's like, hey, we all do.
Yeah,
we all do. And I can tell you from my own experience, at the early days, I was out there trying to sell to pay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to sell PT to pay bills. And it wasn't until I had a similar revelation where I'm like, you know what? The shit's going to come. I've already proven that I'm a good coach. I get great results. People are willing to pay for it. Now, if I stop desperately chasing it and I provide value, I give a fuck about people, all of a sudden, and this happened with me as well, I had guys in my gym that were in their 60s that I never looked at as a potential client, because I thought they're in another economic level to me. You know what I mean? Like they're earning big money. They're top executives in their companies. I'm driving a Ford Fairmont, and they're rolling up in the latest. I think one guy had the first ever Porsche Cayenne in Australia, one of my members, right? And I didn't know it. The whole time he's watching how I train my clients and how I train, and he was fascinated and wanted to do it. And I just looked at him like, out of touch. I can't ever have this guy as my client. Stop giving a fuck about trying to sell him, and just gave him some advice one day, and he referred me a lot of good business.
I reckon that's my secret in the later years of my career too, mate. And I reckon almost every client that I had led from there on in was essentially someone who was extremely wealthy, but I didn't go into it being like exactly what I was saying with that mindset of like, oh, geez, they're they're too wealthy, or they don't need this, they don't need that. I literally just cared about the customers that I had, and I never had an issue with ever having to get clients ever again. It just
look, the fancy term for that these days is abundance mindset. You know what I mean? When you stop thinking scarcity mindset, that everything's limited and there's not much of it available out there. When you start thinking, man, there's enough people out there. I've got skills that they need. They've got results that I can help them achieve. It's all out there. You just got to put yourself in front of more people, right?
100%. Yeah, and don't get it arrogance too.
Yeah, that's right. And again, I'll finish on this one before I introduce Tim. Is that I've got my little formula, right? It's if you want to succeed in something, first you've got to develop discipline. The more you do something over and over and over and over and over, when you don't want to do it, you get really good at it, right? And when you get good at that, that's an earned confidence built off the discipline, right? So develop discipline, earn confidence, achieve success. When you start stringing enough wins together through that formula, that's when you get to sprinkle ego on there. And that's when you go from good to great or to fucking awesome. A lot of people try to jump that though, and you can't do it. You've got to take that path.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't be. Yeah, absolutely. I think I've seen that a lot with clients and other trainers that I've worked alongside of as well. When they come in with that ego before having those wins underneath the belt too, it can actually go the other way.
Yeah. If you come in with ego that's not built on discipline and earned confidence, the hits hurt so bad. Because you believe that you're supposed to be this killer and this star, or this, you got these days all this social media following people should just line up and throw you money. And when they don't, then it hurts. It's hard to come out of that. Whereas you and I and other guys and girls listening to this that have built it the correct way will sit back and go, okay, it's been a shit week. Pump the brakes, look back to basics, get back to square one. Let's go shake some hands and talk to people.
100%.
So look, on that one, let's introduce your business partner and mate there, Tim Egan. Thanks for joining us on the show as well, buddy.
Thanks heaps for having me. Excited.
So let's dig in a bit of your background, Tim, and give us a bit of a brief on how you know Joel and how we got to where we are today.
Yeah. I actually started PTing with Joel back in 2014, probably start of 2014. Met Joel in a group class, ended up doing some sort of small group and one-on-one PT. Became really good mates. Ended up probably just sort of training together on and off. And instead continued our friendship to a point where we ended up buying a business together.
Yeah, sweet. What is that business?
Yeah, so we're in. We own a mortgage choice franchise on the Gold Coast and Brisbane. My background is finance. I'm an accountant. Done a fair bit of finance in the automotive world and bits and pieces. Awesome. We just thought it was, Joel's experience with relationship building, prospecting, lead generation, sort of dealing with clientele paired with sort of my technical back end abilities was going to make a really good combo. And we've been in business now for 12 months and we're kicking some really cool goals.
It's quite funny. We both had, what actually really got us both interested in talking about it was that we both had really bad and really good experiences with mortgage brokers before. And you could see the disparity. And I guess it's like clients walking into a gym, like a member at a gym, to see the difference between a really good PT who cares, will communicate with you and talk to you every single day, to a bad one. And that's exactly what we experienced ourselves. And that's what we got chatting and said, mate, we can do this. We could, we provide the same customer service in other businesses. Let's go ahead and do it for the finance side of the world. And that was sort of where the idea of the business sort of came from.
Yeah, awesome, dude. That's great. And look, before the show, we talked a little bit about, the financial acumen. There's the word. Of personal trainers. Word of the day. Of personal trainers. And most personal trainers are sole traders. And as I said at the start of the show, we're just a bunch of sport or athletic-minded meatheads and that love training people. And we found out that people are willing to give us money to help them achieve their goals. And that's the bare bones of it until you start, then you add all the stuff we talk about on the regular. But that's why most people become a PT. They love training. They love what it makes them feel like. They want others to feel the same way. They see the benefit in it, but they still forget that they're a small business, right? A lot of PTs approach it like they've just created a job. Now, with a job, what does that mean? A job means that someone else is responsible for what you're getting paid. Someone else is responsible for the direction of the job, the business, right? Too many PTs have created themselves a job when actually they're a small business. And that's why a lot of them fail and flunk and fall out. Let's talk about that, because that's obviously, you're an accountant, that's your background, and we're saying some things about that earlier.
And I mean, I'll come back to my little dot points I've got in front of me here. And dot point number one is run your business like a business. It's not a salary. And that's exactly what you just said. When the very first sort of client that came across our desk that was a PT, we sort of sat down and we looked at their scenario and their financials. And I said to Joel, I said, what's going on here? And Joel went, that's normal. I went, what do you mean? They've got no financials. They've got no record keeping. They've got a tax bill that dates back 5 years. They don't own any assets. And he's like, yeah. And that's the PT world. What do you mean? And I went, this isn't right.
There's a list of names that could apply to.
And Joel went, hey, that was me. I was this. That's how I looked when I was PT, especially in the first few years. And reflecting back on some of the other people in the fitness industry that I've dealt with financially, when I was in the automotive world, people come in, hey, my car's just broken down, need a new car desperately, because that's how I get to my mobile PTs. They've got no record of income. They've got tax bills. They've got no assets. They've got no savings. And that was how they ran their lives.
And mind you,
so they got some
So
I was going to say they've got some nice Jordans and some photos of Bali.
and mind you, some of these guys are actually making some pretty good coin.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actually showing the bank that they're making some coin, it's a completely different story.
And when you break it down, you know, you go, oh, hey, listen, sorry, Mr. PT, you can't buy a car because you've got no money. And they're like, oh, well, how can I have no money? I had a full week last week. I took $2,500 in cash. Yeah, cool. Where's that cash? Oh, it's in money. Draw it home. Well, that's no good to the bank. They don't care. So, and that's where what we sort of got talking, and where a lot of our sort of passion around this became is that there's a lot of successful small businesses out there, personal trainers, but they've got no business management behind their company. So when you say to a personal trainer, oh, hey, did you have a good week there? Yeah, cool, we had a great week. And you go, okay, can you show me? Oh, well, no, because there's no accounting, there's no record keeping, there's no evidence they had that good week. And when it comes time to buy that house or buy that new car, or it's near impossible.
Or grow their business. If they don't know where their business is, how do they know how to grow it?
Well, and you know, that's one of the things that I sort of bang onto our guys early is you've got to record everything. You've got to record everything from the efforts you've done for your lead generation and what results you got from that lead generation effort. And from those results, what revenue did you get from that? Okay, when you get that revenue, again, this is your guys' field, but my meathead way of doing it is you make money, you put it in your business account, not your personal account. You take out now people have got different methods, right? Some people take the profit first and then pay the bills. Others pay the bills first and then take the whatever. But there should be a pathway to show this is the money that's come in and this is what I've done with it, week after week or month after month or whatever, right?
Absolutely. And
what's some sorry, go ahead.
The fact that you've even said the money comes into their business account, not their personal account. I mean, even that would be great. From some of the applications we've seen, there's not even that concept doesn't even seem to resonate as a way of doing business.
Absolutely. It took me 5 years to set up my first business account, which is wild. Think about it. How did my business survive for 5 years? And to be honest, you know, if you look back at my tax files back then, I'm probably making 10 grand a year on paper, but I'm taking home 2 grand a week in cash. So. It's quite funny because it's when we're talking about it, Tim was saying, how is this possible? Like, that's as a brand new P2 who doesn't have the luxury of being able to listen to something like this, or you know, we've got access to so many more people like your podcast here that's giving so many people so much value, like in terms of running a business. We didn't really have that back then.
No.
And it was quite hard for brand new PTs to get a leg up and get an idea about finances back then. So I feel old saying back then, like, 10 years ago.
I'll make you feel better, mate. I'll make you feel better. My first PT gig was 2003. So
well, there you go. Yeah, you got me.
And look, you know, and again, if we're talking about what was and what is, you know, to record to do your bookkeeping and stuff back then was paper and pen ledgers. You know what I mean? Now you've got QuickBooks, you've got Xero, you've got ways that if you put them all through, if you put all your payments through a payment processing app, at least, bang, it just goes straight in there.
Yeah.
Right. And then you can sit there and set rules. Okay, well, these bills are business related and these are personal related. So then as those transactions keep coming, I have people, PTs in particular, say, hey, I need a great accountant. You know a good accountant? You know a good accountant? I said, mate, all accountants are good if you turn up with your shit in order.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most accountants, and I know, Tim, you'd probably resonate with this. Most accountants get someone roll up and it's like, here, I'm here to do my tax. Okay, cool. Here's how much money I earned this year. Sweet. What about this? What about this? Where's the record of this? Where's the record of this? And maybe if they're even somewhat organized, they got a box full of dockets. Right? So they expect you in your 1 hour consultation with them to filter all those dockets out, put them into the right order. And hey, guys, PTs, if you do that shit yourself and you turn up with an organized book, whether that's through an app like QuickBooks or Xero, or even if you are old school pen and paper, if you turn up organized with your expenses and with your revenue and with anything else you need to filter out, and then you've got that in front of an accountant. From an accountant's point of view, Tim, how much better is it when they come organized? So, and you can do your magic then.
Yeah, correct. And listen, that's a bit what we've also got some clients as well that we work with that sort of stemmed off on another company that that's what I do. So I mean, I'm not a tax accountant. I sit there and do tax returns, but what I do is we help small businesses do exactly what you're saying. So when they walk into a tax accountant, it's there you go. The accountant goes bang, 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 lodge, done. And you know, the amount of what we sort of charge as a fee for doing that is minute to an accountant at $180 an hour, sitting there, as you said, opening the shoebox and getting out every receipt and scanning it, because there is such good programs out there. Like Xero it's a really, really good software program, and it does all the hard work for you. And we'll actually just chatting about, just before we came on, we were waiting to start actually about how a PT could best utilize a program like Xero. And we mentioned it just before we started. If you're any other sole trader in any other industry in Australia, a chippy, a sparky, a whatever it may be, and you're just come out of school, you're an 18-year-old kid and you're a self-employed ABN, just finished your apprenticeship, you will have accounting software and you will submit invoices and record your expenses, and it's absolutely no different to a personal trainer, but it seems to not be as much as the emphasis.
There's no focus on it.
No focus on it in the industry. Yeah.
And a lot of the times I hear people critiquing the Cert 3 and the Cert 4, and rightly so. They could be a lot better, but they're government controlled to a degree, right?
Yep.
But as we said before the show, how many PTs listening to this, give a little reality check. How many people have gone out and spent money on a nutrition course? Good tool to have. Don't get me wrong. It's a good skill and it's useful in your industry, right?
Yep.
How many have spent money on a functional training weekend or some of these, I was going to be a bit harsh there. Some of these individuals who go and spend a couple of grand on an NLP course to dig deep and get through the layers of their potential clients, read, manipulate them and talk shit. You'll spend money on that. You might even spend money on a Facebook marketing campaign or a lead generation campaign, but at the same time, bitch about how your Cert 4 didn't provide you with enough business understanding or basic accounting. It's like, it's not a Cert 4 in business. It's not a Cert 4 in accounting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Why don't you piggyback that and go do some business coaching?
And a bit of what as I said, that part of what we do as well is we, for a monthly fee, will give people, you know, an open line to us for 12 months. At the idea at the end of it is you're not an accountant, but you can go away and run your own business and know that you're doing a good job. The biggest,
like somewhere between a bookkeeper, kind of a role.
Yeah. So, you know, and the biggest thing we come back to it is that without proper record keeping, you only think you're doing a good job. Like you might think you're the best personal trainer in Gold Coast because you're booked out from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. But at the end of the year, when it comes financial year, you got no money. And
or something like COVID kicks on and you need to go get some financial assistance or something, or big picture shit. You want to go finally buy a house.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
The people, your followers and your likes on Instagram won't buy you a house.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you get enough. Let's get a blue tick.
Well, even then. So what's some practical tips? What's some practical tips you could offer PTs listening to this? So that I know for me, it was, my mum was a bookkeeper for our family business and understood the basics better than most. Even then, I would ask her stuff, and it would be like, it seemed way too complicated at the time because you're too busy trying to think of all these other things. But what's some practical steps or tips you can provide a PT listening to this that maybe hasn't done any of this yet, and they listen to this episode and they go, fuck, okay, I got to do this. And good timing, though. It's like 2 more weeks left in the financial year. It's great timing for this episode, to be honest. Guys, worst case, spend the next 2 weeks doing what we're about to talk about and kick off July 1st as your new business, right?
Yep.
What's some tips?
Well, look, I reckon, coming up tax time now, so it's probably an ideal time to talk about. When you do go to your accountant, like you said, go prepared. And even better than that, go there with the right questions to ask. So you need to go there with an idea about where you want your business to be, not only in a year's time when you're going back there, but in 5 years' time when you're going back there. And even better again, go back to them with an exit strategy about how you're actually going to get out and sell that business in the future as well. Because
That's a big one.
Yeah. If the accountant doesn't know that, then the accountant can't help you get to that position. And so this is what happened to me. Actually, for the first house I ever tried to buy, I went to the accountant and said, "Oh, look, I'm probably looking to buy a house in a couple of months' time. So can we make the books look good?" And they said, "Well, like we can, but what about the last 10 years?" Like that doesn't make anything look any better. So I guess our first practical tip would be to, when you go to the accountant, make sure they know what your goals are for the next 2 to 3 years. And that way they can help you set up step by step and actually provide you with a good base to show lenders, if you want to purchase a home in the next 12 months, happy days. Go talk to your accountant, ask them, what do I need to do? That'd probably be tip number one.
Yeah. Or tell them, we've got this just funny thing where we sort of have a bet between each other. So every time we get someone coming to us that wants finance and we ask for their last tax return, because as a self-employed person, that's the way to prove your income is your most recent tax return.
Yep.
Self-employed sole trader, you can almost guarantee without fail it's $74,850.
Yeah.
$150 under that tax threshold mark, which is great. You haven't paid any tax, you haven't addressed GST. That's cool. But guess what? With that income, you ain't buying shit.
Yeah.
You really, the bank doesn't want to know you. So, and not to be critical of the accountant, they think they're doing the right thing. No one wants to pay tax, and you walk out there with tax credit instead of a tax bill. You go, that's the best accountant in the world. I'm going back to him. But there's nothing, and I had to learn this as well. And there's nothing wrong with paying tax. And yes, it's shit. Yes, another conversation. Are the government using it well or not? Who cares?
Sure.
It's a fact. It's a fact of life. Paying tax means you're making a profit, and hey,
a good problem to have.
Correct, exactly. Paying a lot of tax is it's a good problem. You're 100% right. So making sure you let your accountant know, hey, I'm looking to buy a house. I want to show on my income, I'm earning as much as I possibly can. The other thing, big one, again, point 2 on my list is cash. Stop taking it or bank it. Stop putting cash under your mattress. It's just put it in the bank, pay tax on it. Again, can't avoid it. It's a huge one for PTs. We were talking about before. And as I said, that applicant we had where he had all the money in his sock drawer, cool, but in your sock drawer, the bank can't see it. So either work out a way to take some other form of payment or just put it in the bank.
And even if you do deposit a lump sum, the bank's going to go, where did this come from? And they're going to, oh, it's cash, I just have it aside. Well, have you paid tax on it? So it doesn't matter for them anyway. So they'll either look at it as like somebody's giving you that and it's a gift, which basically you can't use as servicing anyway. So, and I think this all sort of ties into like, if PTs aren't onto their finances, if they're not getting on top of, the tax that they're paying as well, then they're behind the 8 ball from day one. I remember I was almost 4 years behind in my taxes. Just because I wasn't actually putting aside money, because I wasn't record keeping. I didn't know how much I was actually making a week. How much did I have to put aside to make sure that I was paying those tax bills, even if I was going to write off a bit of it anyway.
What's the ballpark for those listening? What's the ballpark? Let's say someone pulled $1,000 in PT. Someone paid a 10-pack up front, right? Just make it nice and simple math. Someone comes up and goes, "Hey Joel, 10 packs, $1,000. Bang, there's $1,000 cash." You say, "Thanks, Billy. Session starts tomorrow." You take that $1,000, you put it through your bank account, you register that with Xero or QuickBooks or whatever. What's the amount they've got to take out for their tax?
I just suggest a flat 10%.
Yeah, right 10%. That's good. Yeah.
So start with that, and then obviously this is where I guess having an accountant and asking the right questions is going to become really handy, because 10% is a good starting point, and then as you're earning more and more and more, see, it's all going to depend on how much you're making on a weekly basis.
Yeah, correct.
Like, when you get paid a salary, if you're getting paid $2,000 a week, the amount of tax that comes out is going to be much higher, but it goes off a threshold. So, if you're making up to X amount, you're only paying 18 cents to the dollar. As soon as you go over that, then you're paying an extra, 5 or 6 cents to the dollar on top of that, and so on and so forth. So you're probably not expected to to do all that sort of thing. But at least if you're putting 10% aside to start with, as you're making more and more, it'd probably increase a little bit to 15%, just so you're not slogged with a massive bill at the end. There's a lot of and quarterly. The quarterly reviews is probably a huge part of that as well, because if you get 9 months in and you're like, oh shit, I've actually made 120 this year and not 60 like I did last year. So that 10% putting aside, I'm still going to get hit with like a 5 or 6 grand bill by the end of the year. Like that's no fun. So yeah, having those quarterly reviews.
That's a good rule of thumb, actually. That's probably a spot on. Every $1,000 is 10%, 1,000 is 10, 2,000 is 20, 3,000 is 30. If you kind of round up and use that as a rule of thumb, that's probably a pretty good guide. You'll be pretty close by the end of the tax year.
Yeah,
good. That's a good useful tip, because I mean, that's the question I get is, if I should be taking tax out, how much? And I have a similar answer usually, is depending on how long they've been in the industry. Gives me hey, you've been doing this for quite some time. You've got a reasonably full book. You should be leaning towards 20 to 30% of what you pull in. If you're just kicking off, 10 to 20% is around the right amount. Better to have too much in that account than not enough, right?
For sure.
And then, I mean, you get into stuff and starts getting a bit technical, I guess, running your car through the business to write that interest off against that tax. And, as they become more mature in their business, that number will become more definite as they get some more depreciable assets and bits and pieces like that.
So touching on depreciation is a really good way to actually leverage not having to pay as much tax, but still having serviceability for a home loan or a car loan, whatever it is that they want in the future as well. Because I guess at the end of the day, and I guess the big reason why we're doing this podcast too, Chris, is to help these PTs grow and develop their business, but also their personal life as well. And so, by implementing these sort of little tips and financial trade tips, that they can just start to get control of their finances. I mean, how many PTs, Chris, do you think, especially new ones that come in to come onto you guys that don't have like any control of their finances? So they're literally like, they're 2 years in tax debt. They're starting fresh again. So, it's going to take them a couple of months to build up and get that client base back on track again. It's just so common. Like, it's so common in the PT industry. So, and it was actually quite like, I knew it, being a PT manager for so many years, and, you could see it happening all the time as well, because you could see when it got to tax time, people are like, oh, do I want to be a PT now? Finally realizing like, oh shit. And now that I am on the other end and I can actually see the finances that we're looking at, we're like, okay, it is as bad as what I thought it was going to be. So it's sad, but it's cool in a way, because it's going to provide a lot of opportunities for PTs to actually develop themselves, grow themselves, and provide themselves with a lot more opportunity in the future not only in their business and growing their business, but also to invest in their lives outside of their business as well.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And you made me think of something really important there as well, is, a lot of PTs get into this as a thing, right? Oh, I don't like my job. I like training. I'll spend a couple of grand, do a course. I'll be a PT. 12 months in, maybe they've got a vision of 12 to 18 months, and then they'll do something different. Cool. That's you. Make the most of it. Limit your liability in the tax end of town. Like, just do the best you can. But as we're showing, and the guests I'm getting on here, yourself included, there's enough evidence out there to say that you can create something worthwhile. Like you mentioned before, a comparison to a chippy or a sparky, or electrician or carpenter, for those who maybe aren't from Australia. Everyone looks at a tradesman, someone who has a skill set like a plumber or an electrician or something, and they go, now that's a career that can be proud of, and that's something I can buy a house and raise a family on and all the rest of it. I can tell you right now, so is personal training, so is fitness. Now, the more people start to realize that, you look at this and go, what would you rather be doing? Up to your elbows in someone else's shit, fixing their plumbing problems for the same kind of money, where you could be in a gym changing lives and helping people live fitter, healthier, faster, leaner existence?
Yep.
Bro, I know what I want to do.
100%. 100%.
So if people looked at it and said, this is a legitimate business, it's a legitimate trade, and it is a legitimate vehicle to generate good wealth, to build, something sensational, it's definitely there if you take the right path, right?
Absolutely.
Like you can,
we've successfully done large financial investments for people in the fitness industry. It's not a dream. We've seen it. We've done it. We've physically have got people into houses that are in the fitness industry.
Yeah, you can see the flip side because there are, we've had a couple and a lot of our customers are really self-employed, aren't they? So a lot of our customers are in that space, and we have had a couple of PTs that, it was just, they had their shit together and you could tell, and it was so easy to get them financed. Do you know what I mean? Whereas on the other end, it's, we're really scrapping to try to find them a deal. And at the end of the day, you can't find them one because we just can't prove to the banks that, they got the opportunity that they have enough to invest.
Because as a business, I mean, it's not many other business. Do you go into a business and, I mean, the overheads are next to nothing. The barriers to entry are almost nil. And the opportunity to earn, on a percentage of just your effort is significant. It's a really like, if it was a franchise, you'd be jumping into it left, right, and center.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and like I said before, apart from the work of being a traditional tradesman, as you said there before, like this is something you can grow, and the barrier to entry is really low. I mean, how many businesses out there, if we use our business model at EMF, for example, how many businesses out there could legitimately be generating north of 150K a year with a weekly expense of 360 or 380 bucks? Capped, flat, doesn't fluctuate.
A hole in the wall coffee shop would be paying $1,000 a week.
And this is 100%. And this is a conversation I have with PTs and even those that failed and have gone back to another industry where they go, oh, yeah, but the gyms just want their rent. I'm like, man, trust me, my first gym I worked in was a commercial gym like everyone else. And then it wasn't for me because the style of training I was doing then, which is more common now, but it was pretty rare then. There was no deadlifting platforms or squat racks. There may be one rack in a whole gym. It was carpet floor gyms. You know what I mean? There was only bars were on bench presses and maybe the one in your squat rack. So I'm trying to do West Side Barbell, if those are familiar with that style of training, 20 years ago. So then I went and did my own thing, and my overheads were $1,100 a week. Plus, I'm the one changing light globes, cleaning toilets, wiping shower screens, vacuuming floors, doing the paperwork, reupholstering busted equipment, tightening, lubing, all that sort of stuff. So, my weekly expenses to keep that business open would have been closer to far out, 1,500 to $2,000. And sometimes I have people go, oh, but you've got to pay $300 or $400 a week. Yeah, for 3,000 or 4,000 members. And the best equipment maintained, and a team of people bringing you new members to put to introduce your business to.
Right. Doing the marketing for you, doing the sales for you.
Imagine a plumber or an electrician listening to this podcast going, "You kidding me? $380 a week is your only outgoing, and you get access to all this and a potential to earn that kind of money. Like, come on."
Yeah, correct.
So we've got a very entitled crowd, and probably more so in the last few years.
Plumber has been through 4 years apprenticeship.
On top of that.
Yeah.
You've got to have a couple of Bunnings accounts to keep your business going. You've got to buy shit before you can make profit. So when I look at it, and again, I always say, being a personal trainer, successful personal trainer that generates good revenue, good income, is simple. Very fucking simple. It's just not easy.
100%. Take work. And this sort of goes back to what we initially started the podcast with, and it's that, those people that are willing to give, for the right reasons, regardless whether they're going to get paid for it or not initially, they're the people that are successful. They work, they give, they work, they give, and then it comes back in spoonfuls at the end. So, and that's another one of my little sayings, I guess, is purpose and intent, right? As a personal trainer, you need equal amounts of both. Your purpose is, why did you become a PT? I want to help people, right? I want to help them look good and feel good. Most people join a gym or get started in fitness because they want to look good. They want to feel good. Now, that doesn't always mean they want to be 6% body fat, fake tan, glossed up on stage. Cool, for some it is.
but it could be someone might feel they look good going from 160 kilos down to 120.
Yep.
Ultimately, most people start a fitness journey to look good, feel good, look better, feel better, right? So if we do equal amounts of that combined with equal amounts of intent, which is build a business. So if I can do that and get paid, then I'm going to be able to stack those wins up until I've created an actual successful business.
Yep.
Where a lot of people go wrong is they go hardcore on the purpose and they get friend zoned. They love everyone loves them, they're giving advice, they're helping out, but they never ask to be paid, or they don't get paid correctly. Yep. Or the other side of the people that are intent heavy, sell, push. They might get people, but they struggle to retain. And then once those people leave, they don't go back and they tell others it's a bad experience. Yep. So you've got to be down the middle, right? Purpose and intent. And then that's how you're going to build something useful.
No, that's a great point. Yeah, it's absolutely. You can go one way or the other quite easily. And I think early on, a lot of PTs, they think they're doing one way, so they go all the way to the other end, rather than just like, let's try to work out a balance in between. So yeah, that's
okay. Provide value, ask them to pay for it.
Yep.
It's a really simple concept, right? You go up to someone, introduce yourself, give them a bit of value, leave it with them. You see them again, give them a bit more value, ask them, did they get some use out of that? Great. Hit them up for a third time. At the end of the third time, you can have something like, hey, listen, man, I love giving you these little tidbits. I can see you using them. That's fantastic. Why don't we sit down for 45 one day, have a good chat. You can tell me what it is you're actually after. I can give you some solutions and some strategies to get there. And if you like what I'm about, I can show you some options how we can work together. How does that sound?
It's, you're providing that value. This is what you've gotten and achieved out of just those tidbits. So imagine if we spent 6 months together.
That's right.
Imagine the results that are going to happen if we actually spent a bit more time and I gave you even more of that knowledge.
One thing you just said then is the words of an experienced, successful trainer. You said, imagine if we spent 6 months together. Most PTs would be, imagine if we did 6 weeks together or 4 weeks together, or would you please just pay me for a session?
It's funny you say that, because we were just chatting before and we were talking about Xero stuff. And I said, would it be annoying if you had to, in Xero, you had to go set up a customer and invoice them if they only come for 1 or 2 weeks? And Joel to me went, well, if you're a PT and only come for 1 or 2 weeks, don't be a PT.
Yeah. What benefit in 2 weeks? So unless you're just helping them with posing practice, there's no benefit to it whatsoever. So
that's right. And the way today is now also is, if someone was, for whatever reason, that's all they could commit to you, but they really wanted you to train, that would be like, that'd be an online package.
Yeah.
That'd be like, hey man, here's a program for you delivered through the app. You pay a weekly amount. The debit's every 2 weeks. I check in with you once a month and we rock and roll from there. Because that way they're still getting something. You're still helping them out. But yeah, if you're only going to see them in person once every 2 weeks, either A, they are an apex athlete and you're just fine tuning them, or you can't really get shit done in that time.
Nah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. If they're only there for 2 weeks, there's no real benefit to it. So, sure.
But you're right, man. Length of, you're looking into the future of how long you can hold, look after people and keep them on track and all the rest of it. You're testament to it. Cole, Darren, some of the guys, Josh, that we had on the evolution version of this, all speak the same thing. They've got clients that go and have been with them for years. For absolute years, and that's a testament to you as the coach. It's a testament to the programming that you do and the education you provide, and the individual to stick with it. Like, a lot of people make this a lifestyle decision, right? A lot of people drink a box of beer every weekend as a lifestyle decision. A lot of people go out and do all sorts of things. We live on the Gold Coast. There's easy ways to spend your money. But there's better ways too. And it's along the lines of, paying for a professional to help get your business on track. It's maybe getting an accountant on board on some sort of routine there to teach you how to actually turn your passion into a business that's going to be recognizable by financial institutions, which is ultimately, and you touched on another point earlier, are you doing this to be a PT for 6 months or for 60 years? Or most people I've ever spoken to that build successful businesses, idea, execution, length of time, exit strategy. The idea is to either build the business to a point where you can sell it, or build the business to a point where it's generated a lifestyle or an income or investment portfolio, whatever, that enables you to step off like you've done and move to your next level, which is now in the financial game.
Yeah.
And that's the first question. When we sit down with new clients, the number one, before we start talking about anything else, is what's your exit strategy? Because that's where the conversation starts, and you work backwards from there. Because you're 100% right. That gauges the whole life of this venture.
The direction.
We do that as PTs. We do that as PTs anyway, right? Okay, I want to lose weight.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Oh, because I've got this thing coming up. Oh, when is it? It's in December. All right, cool. Yeah. So your exit strategy is in December, I want to be this position physically, mentally, emotionally, and I've got 12 weeks leading up to that. Great. Now we know what we're aiming for. Yep. Now we've got a goal in mind and we've got a target. The challenge or the trick I've found with PTs is relating what works back to them in a way that they can understand, right? So PTs will come to me and go, hey, look, I've had a good couple of weeks. The last few weeks, I really haven't had much business. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll say, show me your meal plan. Show me your food diary. And they'll be like, what? I said, well, if your client came to you and said they're not losing weight, you'd probably ask to see their food diary. You'd probably then ask to see their workout schedule.
Yeah.
Maybe with all the apps now, you'd see, show me how many steps you're taking each day. And they go, oh, yeah, I get it. Okay, so if your client's not losing weight and you've got a good program and you've been coaching them, you want to see the data, right? So if you come to me as a PT and say, I'm not hitting the numbers I want to hit as a PT, show me the data.
Yeah.
How many people did you speak to? What was the result of those conversations? How many of those did you move into a selling position? How many of them signed onto your program, right? So these are all things that people need to take into account, or personal trainers need to take into account. And if you do that, and combine it with some of the tips you guys have suggested already with regards to basic level accounting, then you go to an accountant or financial specialist or whatever it needs to be, and you say, here's my goals, here's what we're trying to do, here's my current week-to-week kind of data, and here's my printout or my access to Xero for you to do your magic with.
Yep. 100%.
How much more impactful would that be?
Oh, absolutely. Huge. I mean, that's the reason why my business failed in the first 12 months. It was, hanging by a thread. I had no idea about what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go, what data I had, how many people I'd spoken to, how many.
Just like training.
That's it. I just wanted to train them, and I thought they wanted me to train them. Yeah. And
the other key contact is your mortgage broker. Absolutely. Yeah. That's a huge one. You see, PT sit down there, got their vision board, it's got a nice big house on it, it's got a, Harley and a Silverado and all these things on it.
You've almost described a vision board I had not that long ago. Probably 4 years
ago. Which is cool, great, but you're going to need finance. You're going to need a loan. So if that's your 12, 24, 36-month plan, you need to touch base with the mortgage broker today and see.
So on that, that's a good point, man. Let me ask you real quick. A lot of people probably think that they wouldn't go to a mortgage broker until they were ready to look for a mortgage, right?
Too late.
But just like a financial planner. Yeah, that's right. Good. This is why I'm glad you raised that point. There's no harm in speaking to a mortgage broker when you have nothing to offer the banks, because that mortgage broker might say, well, here's the reality of what you're looking at versus what you want. These are the steps you should probably put into play, and we can talk again in the next 12 months and see how you're doing.
Yep, for sure. The amount of applications that we get that have come to us, we just put a contract on, and we're like, okay, cool, let's go. Let's send us through the document.
Let's see if you can actually pay for it.
Yeah, and then we're like, well, we can't get you any money to buy that house. You put a contract on, so that's awesome, but going on we can't service it. So and I think it's a good point. Go see a mortgage broker is free. There's no cost to you whatsoever to have a sit down with a mortgage broker, have a quick consult with them, pass them through a little bit of data about what they need to do to find out about where your business is at, and then once they know, they can actually give you an idea of borrowing capacity. This is where you're at now, and if you do this is where you're going to be in 3 months' time or in 6 months' time.
And that's a really useful point too, man. A lot of PTs and a lot of people in general, they start to look into and understand a bit more about law of attraction and understanding goal setting and all the rest of it, right? Going to see a mortgage broker, if your goals are to buy yourself a nice property at some stage, that's part of it. Because now you've taken a step towards that goal. And if you're into the way that the universe works, you having that conversation with a mortgage broker makes that a reality. That means that, okay, this is achievable. Now I've got a pathway. I've got a plan to follow.
It sets you some sub goals as well. So your goal is to buy that house. Great. You speak to your mortgage broker, and they might even ask for a little bit of information. And you get, because you've listened to your podcast, you're going to have some financials in the background that you can provide them, and they're going to go, well, okay, you need to clear that tax debt. You need to put 25 grand in the bank in savings, and you need to earn consistently 85 grand a year. So there you go. There's 3 sub goals that you've just set yourself in buying that house.
Yeah. And it's real now. Now it's a pathway. It's a way to get there, you know? And by doing that, you're putting something out there into the world to say, this is what I'm serious about. I've got a big fuck off whiteboard up here that I put all my things on, right? So it's like, right, there it is. Put it somewhere that's in visible, in direct line of sight every morning. And you can look up there and go, right, like you just said, $25,000 worth of savings, 85K revenue based over a period of time, 0 tax bill. That's up there. Maybe you're chipping away at the tax bill, cross it out, update it, cross it out, update it.
Yeah.
That's real shit. That's going to get you closer to where you're going to be than having a chat now, winging it for 12 months, going back 12 months later and go, now let's have another look. You guys are going to be like, happy to, but you're in the same shit as you were 12 months later.
Yeah, no, exactly right. And I think, having those little goals you can tick as you go through is super important. I mean, why did you become a PT in the first place? And what do you want to do with your own life? Yeah, you want to help other people, but how can you help other people when you're struggling to pay the rent? How are you helping people when you're struggling to support your own lifestyle at the same time? So
always go, money's not everything, but it's like, trust me, and I know you guys will probably reiterate this. I've helped so much more people when finances are better than the days when my passion was through the roof, but my financial situation was rough.
Yep, 100%.
Right? If you've got money in the bank and your bills are taken care of and you live in a comfortable existence, you can go out and be who you are and do what you need to do way better than when you're struggling to pay your bills and then you're still trying to put on that brave face. And that was me 20 years ago, easily. Like, people would rely on me and count on me to get them across their line, and I'd happily do it. And then the drive home every night was like, fuck, looking at the fuel gauge, like, hey man, that guy told me he had a phone bill due and he's going to pay me next week. And I gave him the thumbs up and said, that'll be all sweet. Now I'm driving home going, fuck, how am I going to get home?
Yeah, 100%.
So it's much better. You can help more people when you're in a better position financially yourself.
Correct. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Guys, this has been really, really impactful, really useful. So I really appreciate your time. Hey, for those listening, where can they find you guys? Where can they reach out and learn some more about what you do?
Yeah, so I guess the best way to find us is we've got Facebook, socials, just Mortgage Choice Brisbane and Gold Coast. Otherwise, you can find us our website. This is Mortgage Choice / Joel Bradford as well. But yeah, we'll on socials is probably the best place. Give us a call, send us an email. Like we said, if you want to talk about, hey, where are we at now? You might not ever be ready to buy in the next 12 to 24 months. All good. Come see us. Let's have a quick look at where you're at, where your financial position is, and then we can give you a bit more of an idea about what you can do over the next few months or the next year to actually get yourself in that position to buy that home. Because right now it almost seems impossible. The way the market is, the way that it's exploded, most people are thinking like, geez, I'll never get in the market. You'll be surprised with just the littlest things, the littlest changes in your life, in what debts you've got, what expenses you've currently got, and what your income's at. You can make some minor tweaks in there. You can literally take your servicing from 500 to $1 million. So it doesn't take much. Yeah, just start the conversation, get that goal, like you said, create that pathway for that goal that you do want to buy that property. And
we'll share an email as well if we can, maybe through your platforms. If any of the listeners out there that are new to the game, or even got experienced PTs that just want a bit more accounting advice, or want a list of the questions that they need to ask their accountant, or just want to quiz us on some good ways to try and sharpen up the tax and like that, send us an email, give us a call. We're the same. We love helping people. This is why we got into it. This is why we're doing it. Yep. So more than happy if you're listening out there. Do you want any sort of further advice or assistance? Feel free to touch base.
Yeah, love it. And you made a good point there, man. This is what you guys love to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is me helping PTs to build successful businesses and to be putting themselves into positions that I didn't think were possible for PTs when I first started, is why I do it. And it's the same kick that we get, is the same kick PTs get when their clients hit a PB or lose weight or get on stage. It's the same thing. So if you're a PT listening to that, and that's that high you're chasing, you're chasing that high to get your client across the line. That's why I do this for. That's why the boys are doing what they do for. So understand that it's coming from the right place. And we want to succeed. Like, there's nothing better for me than seeing a PT still in the industry 4 or 5 years later, but not just in it, but in it.
Yeah.
Buying properties, making money, going on holidays, living the dream, inverted commas, living their dream, and making people happy and impacting people all around the world with their fitness and stuff. So, guys, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. What I'll do is I'll put links to you guys as usual. I'll put links to your socials when we post this. It goes on Spotify. It goes on YouTube. So some people are suckers and they want to actually look at us. That's YouTube. And for those that are just happy listening, you can tune in on Spotify, and I'll post it out on IG so people can jump on the link. So again, thanks, guys. Anything else you wanted to add before we wrap it up?
Nah, all good, mate. Appreciate your time, mate. Really, really appreciate having the opportunity just to talk to colleagues that I've worked with, and people that are going down that track as well. Just to sort of give them some tips and advice around business and finance. But it's been great, mate. Thanks for having us.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, boys. Thanks very much. That's episode 30. Cheers.
Don't be used as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up, counting